Nick.
Yeah, because
everyone goes by Nick. Like my family calls me Nikola or Nija, but everyone calls me Nick.
Yeah.
So just that's fine.
Nick.
Yeah.
I like
Nice and simple.
Okay, so my mic is still low, but I think I'm just gonna have to talk louder.
Okay.
It's picking up on me. We're gonna have to deal with what we got.
All good, man.
So we're live, or not live, we're rolling.
That's good.
Here with Nick. Congratulations.
Thank
you
you.
recently transferred to Northeastern University.
Yes, sir.
How did the transfer process come about? How was the feelings towards it? You spent quite a bit of time in Notre Dame, so it must have been some thought into it before you had to pull the trigger.
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to come back to Notre Dame my 5th year because school was always an important factor to any of my decisions, and they have a great MBA program at Notre Dame, and I wanted to go back and complete that my 5th year. And then after my 5th season, when I heard I was going to get another year back because of COVID, I thought maybe coming back to Notre Dame, but everything that I wanted to do at ND I accomplished, and I wanted to go to a school that valued me a little more as a player and somewhere where I could contribute more than I was at Notre Dame. And Northeastern, I knew the coach from high school, and I thought it was a perfect fit, and so it just made sense after 5 years at Notre Dame.
So you went to an ambitious program.
Yep.
And I mean school-wise, academically.
Yes.
How is balancing course load like that, which is smart people struggle through just the school part, so the student-athlete part?
It was tough at first. You have to get adjusted. Notre Dame did a great job of putting people around me that helped me, academic advisors. The teachers kind of know the athletes, especially football and basketball players, because they have the most demanding schedules. And they're really okay with, extending some due dates or giving a little more leeway when it comes to, submitting things. But as long as you manage your time well, you can, pretty much most of the guys on the team are in the business program, which I was in, and it's decently demanding and everyone's getting through it. So definitely doable.
What are you looking forward to at Northeastern this year? You talked about an expanded role, obviously.
At Notre Dame, I had my chances early on in my career, my freshman, sophomore year. Didn't play too well, and ever since then, I kind of stuck in a role of like a shooter or kind of a role player, and I had a very short leash when it came to my coach. So I couldn't really experiment and show the things I could do with my game because I had such short opportunities to show myself, and if I messed up, I would get yanked pretty quickly. And here at Northeastern, I'm in an expanded role. I'm going to be playing major minutes. I'm going to be a key contributor. Plays are going to be drawn around me, so it's a totally different atmosphere and vibe for me as a player, which is hopefully going to help me show my full game to scouts and preparing for the next level.
I was looking at the roster for Northeastern, and I got it up again. I'm going to scroll through it because you got some just interesting storylines. You have a former teammate with you from Notre Dame.
Yes, Chris. Yep.
Chris, not going to try that last name. But Canadians as well. I think I saw Quebec in there.
I got a couple Canadians. I think we have 5 or 6 in total.
You got a guy from Milton, Oakville. It's a little Canadian reunion party, another Montreal. So, have you had a chance to interact with your teammates at all? You have an interesting dynamic there with so many Canadians. Former teammates.
All great kids. They're younger, a lot younger than me, to be honest. It's a little weird. I feel like I'm a much older guy on the team, but they're all great guys. 2 of them played with Z in the IBSA program, which I was a part of. So they're very similar.
We're getting to that.
Very similar play styles, dynamics, and the way they see the game. The other Canadians, I just met them here for summer school, but they're also great kids. All play the right way, and I think it's going to be a great experience.
Because I'm looking up and down. I don't know if that's a typical D1 roster. That's a lot of
our coach was messing around. He said we might have to play the Canadian anthem before the game instead of the American.
And just going through some of actually let's address, because you already mentioned that you're an older guy. I want to address just the timeline for a minute. Redshirt first year.
Yes.
4 at ND.
4 at ND.
Right, you had the senior night game.
Yep.
I want to talk about that in a second.
Sure, no problem.
And now you get a year back because of COVID.
Yep, so I'm going into my 6th year of college, but my 5th year of playing.
So is it getting old? You find new challenges, or?
That was also weighted on the decision of leaving Notre Dame because I was there for such a long time, and anyone who's been in college knows that even 4 years is a lot. So I wanted to change the scenery and something completely different to kind of make it new and more exciting. It's just how my journey panned out. I didn't think I was going to be staying in college for 6 years, but ultimately this is what I have to do for my career, and it is what it is. It's a little old, but it's also this new program at Northeastern, and the whole dynamic is exciting, so it's a little fresh and fast paced.
And what are you going to remember most fondly about ND? Because I know you had ups and downs, but let's focus on the positives.
The thing I remember most fondly at Notre Dame, I think it's just, to be honest, I mean, it's a cliche answer, but the guys I met, some of my teammates are going to be brothers for life. And some of them I talk to almost every day, even now that we're, out of school. Some of the memories, I mean, even if some of the games that I wasn't playing a lot, I got to experience, games at Michigan State, Duke, North Carolina. We won the Maui Invitational. Yeah. Like these iconic tournaments, that you dream of playing and growing up in. And I was playing them and participating in them. So it was a great experience, and I wish that for any basketball player growing up.
I think last year your schedule, the first 3 games, Kentucky,
hectic.
Duke.
Yep.
As someone that actually played Duke last year, bizarre season, I guess, for them. How do you see? Do you think that program's going to keep its allure post Coach K?
I think it will. I mean, Duke goes so much beyond their history. I think it's just players now, the way they market their program, the schedules they make, the influence they have, it's just so much of a draw for young kids coming up. It definitely, and I mean, the crowd, the atmosphere is always electric. It's insane. It's definitely somewhere where a player wants to play. And I think with Coach K being gone, not much changes. I know they announced John Shire is going to fill in his role. And I mean, I don't know much about him, but from what I've heard, he seems like an amazing coach and he'll definitely fill in the role very well.
Yeah. So I like doing a timeline with the Canadian guys. I say it every time I got any Hoopers on the program. But this is the first time I'm going to go before they were born, because I was looking into your bio a little bit, and your parents actually have I assume, an incredible story. It says, moved from the former Yugoslavia to Ontario to escape the Yugoslavian War fought throughout the 90s. What have you heard from your parents' experiences?
I mean, every time they talk about it, they get all, choked up and teary-eyed because they literally had to leave, their family and their friends to, go elsewhere in hopes of a better life. I mean, from the stuff that I've heard, it's just brutal. It's a war, countries being torn apart, and it was awful. My parents were kind of forced to pivot and make a decision to leave, and they went to a whole new country, didn't know the language, didn't have any money, no friends. It would be like you just plopping yourself somewhere in, I don't know, China. And they explained it as a surreal experience, good and bad, but ultimately it paid off, and now me and my sister are able to have, luxuries that my parents couldn't even dream of. So
it's incredible to think of, right? So my parents are from Egypt, Alexandria, Egypt, and they had a life just like I have a life here in Canada, and you have to pack up and go because you see writing on the wall, or I cannot underappreciate, or I don't know what the right way to say it. I very much appreciate it.
Yeah, it's the courage they had to make that kind of move and do that for us at such a young age. My parents came over here when they were like 20, 21. I mean, I was in school. I mean, I barely had any responsibilities 2-3 years ago, and they were here moving to another country to try and, and the 2 kids. I mean, I can't even imagine. It was just a different time. I'm proud of them for doing it, is what it is.
I called it a move when I started going to McMaster.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I was
totally different.
I was totally I'm at Mac now, I'm commuting, but whatever. No, it's very appreciative of that. So let's go through your basketball timeline now. So from what I heard, under recruited probably most of your high school career, and there's a very special coach. Z?
Yes, Z.
Coach Z.
Big Z.
I want to call him V. Take us through the timeline a little bit. Coming from where you came from, like your parents' background stuff, when was basketball even introduced to you? Your parents play?
My dad did, but just like casually. He was more into soccer. Serbians are always known for soccer and basketball. Those are the 2 sports. And as soon as I came to Canada, my dad didn't play any sports at the time. He was an athletic guy, but he didn't play anywhere at a high level. And I just, as a kid, just regularly growing up, started playing house league soccer, house league basketball, and I started gaining a passion for it. I played both sports pretty competitively all the way to like 14, 15, and then I switched to...
How tall are you at 15?
Ooh, I was short. I had a coming into high school, so 9th grade, I was 5'8", 5'9", right around there, and then my 9th grade to 10th grade summer, I went from like 5'8", 5'9" to 6'3" in one summer.
Yeah, okay, basketball.
And then I was like, soccer all of a sudden got really hard, and basketball got a lot easier. Yeah. But and then right around 8th, 9th grade is when I met Z, who used to play pro overseas, came to Canada to try and build a basketball academy. And me and a couple of my friends were his first kind of like subject group of like kids that he trained, and he trained us all the way from...
A lot of Serbians on that team too.
A lot of Serbians, full Serbian team.
Yeah.
And he trained me all the way from 8th grade, 9th grade to actually now, whenever I come home, I'm still always training with him, and we're really good friends. So
I was with Coach Z this morning, and I know he's gonna watch this. Open invitation. That's your seat next,
There you
okay?
go.
But I hear great things about him,
Yeah.
and I hear tough things about him as well. What's the Coach Z experience like?
He's just one of the most real dudes that you'll come across. Like, training wise, he'll never, be like, he has the utmost respect for his players, and so he gives them the truth no matter what the truth may be. Like, whether you are in the NBA, whether you are barely making your high school team, he will always tell you the truth and tell you the things you need to hear in order to be a better basketball player. And he never sugarcoats it, but he's real, and that's what people respect about him. A lot of trainers nowadays don't kind of tell players the full story or use players to market their own things, but Z just always cared about pure development, and that's what I always felt with him, and that's why I stayed with him ever since 8th grade.
Yeah, and you talk about high school players, pro players, NBA players. You had everything on that team.
Oh yeah.
Go through the roster a little bit. What's the alumni?
Yeah, we had I ended up playing at Notre Dame. Fiondu's ended up playing at Florida State, and now he's playing in the NBA. Yeah. Steph went to UMass Lowell, and now he's coaching here. We had a couple other guys. Ivan Chuchuk, who was a 7-footer, he ended up going to Austin Peay in Texas. Yeah. Now he's at Carleton. Had a bunch of other players who all played CIS. I mean, it was a stacked roster of really tall, really smart Serbian dudes. So it was good.
And what were the sticking points of that year? Because now you're in your team. Was this? You said you went in grade 8.
Yep.
And I know you had a late development, but you had a great team.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like training with guys on that trajectory? But even Fiondu, and we talked about this before. It didn't seem like he was on the NBA track until later on as well. So, I mean, like, what's in Coach Z's water? Like, what happened that year? What was the growth like?
Yeah, he always has the saying, like, if I yell at you and if I'm on you, it's because I believe in you. And there was always two guys. I mean, you ask any of the players that played on our team, me and Fiondu got it the worst from Z. Like, he would bench us. He wouldn't play us. My 8th, 9th, 10th grade on the AAU team with Z, I didn't play like a minute. It wasn't like I would get in and I didn't play at all. Like, I wasn't playing, touching the floor. Same with Fiondu. And he would always get on us for the littlest things that he wasn't telling other players. Like, it was just super annoying, to be honest. When I first met him, I didn't know what he was doing. I thought he hated me. And then we had these training sessions 4 times a week with the whole team outside of team practices, where we really kind of grinded, worked hard together, and it helped you get better as a player. And as I got older, I started realizing, like, oh wow, now I'm starting to get a little better, and the dudes that were playing ahead of me now aren't playing anymore. And it was just like a slow rise to being one of the better players on the team. It's the same with Fiondu, and we just took off from there. So
you take a trip to Athletes Institute, I believe, Orangeville team. What was that team like? I believe Thonmaker is on that team.
Yes, him and his brother. Yeah.
So going to Orangeville, when did the opportunity come about, and how was the experiences?
Yeah, just my senior year at Saltfleet, which was my local high school in Stony Creek. I got reached out to by a guy named Brandon Lisowski. I always mess up his last name, but he was the head coach of AA at the time, a new program. So in Orangeville, they have Orangeville Prep and Athlete Institute Prep. Athlete Institute Prep was a program for 5th-year guys, and kind of like an older program. He reached out to me, said he was interested, came to a game, liked me, offered me there on the spot. And I understood that playing at a local high school in Hamilton, I don't have nearly as much exposure as I would at a prep school, and especially with a player like Thon, who was at that time, national attention. And then I came to Athlete Institute, and that was my first experience of being like a pro. I didn't go to school that much. I trained, I'm going to say 5-6 hours a day for like 8 months. I made a huge change in my body. I went from like 175 pounds to 205 pounds in like 6-7 months. I was working out all the time, and that's when I ended up getting all my major looks for Division I.
So were you promised a role at Athletes Institute?
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna be a main guy.
So how much of the decision was based on like the gravity of the situation, being at Orangeville, being with a guy like Thon, but you got a role as well. So it just seems like the perfect storm for you.
Yeah, I mean, and to touch on that, I think nowadays with so many prep schools and coaches offering kids spots for insane amounts of money, I feel like kids just do anything to go play prep. And I honestly probably would have stayed at Saltfleet if it wasn't for the fact that the school offered me a huge role and I was on scholarship. And so it's a different scenario for me where I left my high school, but for a program that where I knew I was going to be valued. Where nowadays I feel like kids just kind of go play prep to play prep, and they go if they're not promised any minutes. You know what I mean? So it's a different story. But for me, I knew I was going to be a valued member of the team. So.
Yeah, the average 16-year-old now has just a way different, I guess, experience.
Totally different environment,
you would have had, and that the guys before them had. It's just, but the thing is, because I'm with you, I would love for high school basketball to be the scene. Nelson versus Corpus Christi, Nelson versus your high school in Hamilton to be the scene. But now it gets expensive. Everyone's going to prep. Yeah. And for good or for bad, the eyeballs are in prep now, right?
I mean, yeah, it's tough for me to say how I'd react if I was growing up nowadays because I don't know what decisions I'd make. But I knew back then. I mean, I always just I didn't feel the need to keep leaving from programs that I was at. The only reason I, like I said, left is because it was a perfect situation for me. I was going to be a main guy, and I was playing with someone who had national presence and was going to be able to draw coaches. So I think just for kids nowadays, they need to be able to, make smart decisions and not just focus on the fact of being prepped because everyone else is going prep. So
yeah, it's an incredible situation. And so when does Notre Dame enter the picture?
So so I start Athlete Institute my 5th year of high school, and so prep schools usually have these things called open runs in the beginning of September, and that's when all the coaches can come in and you just play 5-on-5 in front of all of them. And I had offers at that time from a bunch of schools, but they weren't high major. It was like Princeton, Penn, Northeastern, a bunch of other ones I can't remember, but they were all like kind of lower level schools. And these open runs started, and the head coach of Notre Dame, Mike Bray, who's the head coach now, came to watch Thon because they were high on his list. Yeah. And he came to the run, and he was impressed by me because I played well at the same time. Talked to me right after the run. He was like, "Don't commit to anyone. Like, just wait a little bit. Like, we're very interested in you." He ended up offering me like 4 or 5 days later, and after Notre Dame offered me, it's usually how it works. After a big school offers you, all of a sudden other big schools start rolling in, and then after Notre Dame's offer, I started just getting high major after high major, and it was pretty much in like a 2-3 week span.
Anything as enticing as Notre Dame? Obviously, you just choose Notre Dame, but
who
else came in?
Honestly, I mean, big school like Tennessee, UNLV, a bunch of big names came in, but I always felt like some of those schools came in just because I was getting other high major offers, right? And Notre Dame was the first school to kind of like risk offering me, even though I wasn't a high major guy. And so I kind of felt like they really valued me, and that's why I ultimately ended up choosing going to that school over other high majors that offer.
So how does the prep scene, or how at least your experiences at Athlete Institute, prepare guys for the roles that they see them at, right? Because you just said you weren't a high major guy. Yeah. Is that a conversation you have coming into the program, or how do they prepare you for
at Athlete Institute?
At Athlete Institute, and maybe we can project it a little bit.
Yeah. How they prepare you? I mean, I was lucky enough. So Thon has a mentor, Ed Smith, and he dealt with basketball at all kinds of levels. And to be honest, at the same time, while I was at Athlete Institute, even though I wasn't training with Z anymore, I always kept in contact with him. So I had people in my circle who played basketball at a very high level and knew basketball at a very high level, and they always kept it real with me and explained to me, how college works, how I need to approach things, how they'll deal with me, things like that. So going into Notre Dame, I don't think necessarily Athlete Institute did anything in particular, because their whole goal was to have the best possible season in high school. But some of these people that I had in my corner, they were the ones who really kind of guided me and helped me, understand how college is going to work.
And well, obviously it works out.
Yep.
You get the big time offer from Notre Dame that you accept. I'm trying to think about how I want to frame this next question. So, from the chatter that I hear about you, I know we touched on it, but I want to dive in a little bit deeper with kind of the struggles you had, pre-Athlete Institute, and I guess I don't think it's fair to say they replicate themselves at the first couple of years in Notre Dame, but it kind of feels that way from, an observer point of view. How low did it get? How high does it get? Like, what was the roller coaster like for you in terms of? I want to stress that because you end up at Notre Dame, but that wasn't the trajectory maybe in 9th, 10th grade. Yeah.
9th, 10th grade was really rough for me. High school I was always playing well, softly. But that was lower level basketball. When I played with the AAU program and wasn't playing, it was very hard to see all my friends getting major minutes, playing well, and me sitting on the bench. And at times I definitely did think about quitting basketball. But I worked hard, I stuck with it, and ultimately, I ended up doing better than a lot of players who were playing ahead of me. Notre Dame is a little different story because I got there, and I think, looking back on it, I don't regret going there, but I regret the mindset and the approach that I took when I got there. I think I was so enamored and happy with the fact that a school like Notre Dame offered me that I got complacent and kind of basically thought like, oh, I made it. Like once I got to Notre Dame, amazing school, amazing education, amazing basketball program, back-to-back Elite Eights. Like I made it. Like, you know what I mean? This is where I'm supposed to be. And that kind of got me in a mindset where I just felt like happy to be there. And I wasn't aggressive. I wasn't attacking. I wasn't, doing the things, playing the way I'm playing, because I just thought I was complacent with being where I was. And then, at that level, all these guys on your team are chasing, NBA dreams, and they're dogs. You're playing against dogs. And if they sense you not being confident, or you, not grinding like they are, like they'll come after you, they'll attack you, right? And then just as easy as it is to get confidence, it's just as easy to lose that confidence. Right. And I think I lost a major level of confidence my freshman, sophomore year. And once you lose that as a player, it's tough to gain it back, because the coaches view you differently, and you yourself just play the game, in a different manner than you usually play. So I think that's kind of what happened to me.
Was there an inflection point where you flip back? When does the confidence start coming back?
Yeah, I think this fifth year was really great for me, because I started getting major minutes again. I started starting near halfway through the season, but every game I was playing around 20, 25 minutes, and I had some big games. I had a couple 18.
And sorry to cut you off. This is following, I believe, was it the year before your minutes dipped a lot?
Yeah. So my junior year, I had 3 really good games at 21 points, 9 points, and 12 points. And then I injured my shoulder. So I had shoulder surgery. And then I was out for the rest of the year. And then so this happened end of my junior year. And so started my senior year, I was back from my shoulder injury, but my coach was just adamant about not playing me. I mean, I thought I could have helped the team a lot that senior year, but I played barely anything. It was my senior year, which was tough. But then, this fifth year, we lost a lot of major guys. I ended up playing many minutes, and, I played very well throughout the entire season. I was really consistent, and it kind of gave me a confidence boost that I needed to set me up for this, final great season I'm going to have at Northeastern. So.
And you're dropping me off at a good point, because I wanted to ask you, what kind of goals do you have for this year at Northeastern? What are you bringing new to the table this year that you maybe haven't shown in the last couple of years? What have you been working on? Yeah. What's new?
Coming out of high school, going into college, coming out of high school, I was more of a guard, very versatile guard. Could drive, could pass, could shoot, a little bit of everything. As I got to Notre Dame and my role switched and, my minutes deferred, I ended up kind of being like a spot-up shooter. That was about it.
This 6'8" spot up.
Yeah, this fifth year, I put on a lot of size, and they played me at the 4, so I was guarding bigs and post-up situations, which just isn't me whatsoever, but I had to do it in order to play. But I'm definitely trying to show off my versatility and getting back to how I used to play here at Northeastern, where I'm handling the ball more, I'm using pick and rolls, not screening, I'm driving to the basket, I'm shooting pull-ups, I'm doing a little bit of everything, which I'm capable of doing, but I just couldn't show it at Notre Dame.
Yeah, and I hang out around the gym a lot. I've gotten to see you train a few times.
Yep.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't watch a lot of Notre Dame, but when I did some research for today, started watching the highlights, I'm like, oh, they have him in the dunker spot? I watched this guy work out his handle, and he's pulling threes, he's keeping up. It was a shock to see, and I don't want to throw any disrespect to whoever picks the roles, but I was kind of stunned to see the positions you were put in, and what I know your skill set to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's all depends on, how you view it. As my coach at Notre Dame, he probably had a lot of guards who do what I want to do, and he thought they were better than me. Right. So he put them in positions to showcase their skills, and then he was like, okay, where does Nick fit? He can do all this stuff, but I want him to do this. You know what I mean? You got to play a role, and you got to do what your coach wants. But as you obviously just said, I'm capable of doing so much more, and that's what I'm gonna show at Northeastern. Yeah.
At Northeastern.
Been here for 5 years. Been there for 5 years. Comes up.
Cycle come back.
Northeastern.
Nick, I'm excited to see how it goes this year. I'm definitely gonna watch Northeastern basketball. We're all checking it out, and let's touch base at the end of the year and see how it goes. And all the best. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate your time.